Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with some updates to recent videos. I love doing updates. I really do, because there's all kinds of stuff that's still coming out, or things I find, or suggestions you make, and here's where I get to talk about a few of them. But first, a programming note. Well, not really a programming note, just a little bit of controversy arising over previous videos that I think I need to discuss, and I want to make a couple of points. First, in my talk about Khachaturian's disgustingly horrible Second Symphony, some of you have pointed out that I had the temerity, my goodness, to say that he was a Russian composer of his period and time, a Soviet Russian composer, which of course he was. But they say, no, he wasn't Russian, he was Armenian. So let's set the record straight. Number one, I don't care. Number two, he was born in Georgia and at the age of 18 moved to Moscow, where he spent the rest of his life. So while ethnically he was Armenian, he was Russian in terms of his culture, his livelihood, his politics, his nationality. That's what he was, Soviet Russian. And the fact that the Soviet Union broke up and now all of its former republics are looking to have this flowering of nationalism where they are claiming their historical patrimony, it's a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong, but my interest is in the music. I don't care about political correctness and nationalism. And as far as I'm concerned, Khachaturian was a Soviet Russian composer, Russian for short. And if I hear any more of that crap, I'm just deleting your comments because they're stupid. Folks, come on, get a life, really. I mean, I don't need anybody to tell me that he regarded himself as ethnic Armenian, but he was about as Armenian as Hovhannes was, whose real last name was Chakmakchian, in case you're interested, and who was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. He was an American composer of Armenian descent. I'm an American critic of Latvian and Lithuanian descent. Russian, actually. I grew up being told that my ancestors were Czech and Russian, or Russian and Polish, because of the other side of the family. You know, when you come from that sort of polyglot culture, you can't be too picky about what your nationality is. And I don't believe in historical revisionism, because Khachaturian operated for his entire professional life within the theater of the Soviet Russian musical universe. And so that's what he was. And I don't really care about the rest. I mean, it's silly. And I just don't want people to waste time and energy typing in little comments about how, well, he was really considered to be Armenian. I know that. Everybody knows that. That's not the point. So that's number one. Number two, pronunciation. Those of you who have not seen the video, a rant about pronunciation, I quite recommend that you go and see that, because I feel that about that the same way I feel about the nationality business. I'm going to mispronounce all kinds of things, and I don't need anybody to tell me I'm doing that. As far as I'm concerned, I have an accent. And the difference between me and you is that I'm putting myself out here, making a fool of myself, mispronouncing all this stuff to talk to you about it. And I really don't appreciate the help. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't care about it. If I mispronounce something, whether it's Richard Boninge, which is really Bonning because he didn't have the sense to take the E off of the end of his name, or whether it's Khachaturian's ballet Gania, which is Gana, Gania, Gayana, Ganya, Grania, Gripya, Guchya, Gachka. I don't care. You know what I'm talking about. And as long as you know what I'm talking about, that's all that matters. The fact that the pronunciation may not be perfect, according to some of you who know obscure languages, good for you. Go impress your friends. It doesn't impress me. And by the way, I will simply delete the comments in question because, again, it's trivial. It's not about music. It's not important. So I wanted to get this out of the way. Just because, this is casual. This is informal. This is like, I always had this terrible fear because here I am for decades and decades writing about this stuff. And when you write about it, you only have to spell it correctly. You don't have to say it. And so, it's not a big problem. But when you have to say it, oh my, what a different world it is. And I just hate pedantry. I really do. It makes me crazy. And I think that there's just too much ink spilled about it. I spend my whole life having my own last name mispronounced. It's Hurwitz. And I hear Horowitz, this, that. I mean, it's misspelled, it's mispronounced. So what? I know they're talking to me. It's not a big deal. And I'm not making a big deal of it. And I would appreciate it if some of you out there do not make a big deal out of it, because it's just a waste of time. Next, let's get to the updates, shall we? All right. First, the talk about the Berg violin concerto. Some of you mentioned that I neglected to include in my list of fine Berg violin concertos Arabella Steinbacher on Orfeo with the WDR Symphony Orchestra and Andras Nelson's. Well, this is indeed an excellent performance of the Berg violin concerto. I quite agree. So thank you for mentioning it. I really appreciate that. However, I went back to the overflow room and pulled this out. And, the reason it didn't overflow because of the Berg. It's coupled with the Beethoven concerto. And it's a good performance. It's okay. It's even a very good performance. But, another performance of the Beethoven violin concerto. It was the coupling that did it in for me. That's why it probably went to the overflow room. Because, I just think the Berg is great, but it's the shorter of the two works. And good as the Beethoven may be, I just felt that it was, too much of a good thing, I think. So it all depends on couplings. If you want the Berg coupled with the Beethoven violin concerto, then knock yourself out. I mean, Steinbacher is a good bet, beautifully recorded with wonderful orchestral accompaniments from Nelson's and the orchestra. It's a very, very fine performance. So thanks for mentioning. And couplings, that's all your pick. Of course, nowadays, you don't ever have to worry about couplings because you can just download the bits you want. So download the Berg and forget about the Beethoven. Next, woodwind music. Woodwind music. Music for winds. God, I love music for winds. Possibly because of my failed career as a clarinetist. And here we have, remember I did a little talk on Dutch composer Julius Röntgen. Röntgen. Oh my God, he's a wonderful composer. And here we have on CPO an entire disc of his wind music, wind serenades and other goodies. And on this disc is the Serenade number 2, which is a wind quintet, and the Serenade in Serenade number 1, which is a septet for flute, oboe, clarinet, 2 horns, and 2 bassoons. It's a delightful work. Oh my God, it's delightful. I'm going to play you a little bit of the scherzo, just the opening, so you get a sense of it. It's a very early work, and Röntgen was born in like 1875, was it? Something like that? Or 1855. Holy cow. 1855. And he probably wrote this around the 1870s. So it's early Röntgen when he was really still part of that sort of Leipzig school and all that, but it's none the worse for that. It's lovely. And here is a bit of the scherzo. Gotta have it, right? It's performed here by the Linos Ensemble. I don't know whether it's Linos or Linos. I don't care. And ensemble is pronounced ensemble, I assume. And let's see. Yes. And it's on CPO, and it's just great. It's absolutely great. So I wanted to follow up 2 videos, the Röntgen video and the Wind Serenade video, because it's really a delicious little work. Oh, and you also get his trio for flute, oboe, and bassoon. 3 works on the disc, and they're all the acme of music that is charming and that exists merely to please. Next, in my talk about Dvořák's Fifth Symphony, some of you brought out the point that I did not include in my top 5 the performance by Ottmar Sweetener. That's because I was doing the top 5 of the Fifth. Get it? Number 5. And so something had to get left out. But you are all correct. Sweetener's is a superb performance from a superb Dvořák cycle. So it will come back when we talk about cycles and things like that. Here it is. It's on Brilliant Classics in this particular incarnation. It's also on Berlin Classics. I'm not sure how this licensing stuff works, but you can get this whole cycle really, really, really cheap on Berlin Classics. Brilliant Classics. They both begin with a B. Maybe you pronounce Berlin as brilliant. There we go. Then it's the same thing and it doesn't matter, right? Anyway, so here we have the Fifth Symphony with Sweetener. Superb. Absolutely great. And I'm happy to say so. And I thank you very sincerely, all of you people who mentioned the fact that Sweetener belongs in the list of really fine performances, because there's no question that he does. That whole cycle is great. With wonderful woodwind playing and really beautiful recording. So we can talk about that more later, but I wanted to mention it. And semi-finally, not quite finally, in my talk on romantic string music, a few of you, well, one of you actually mentioned Niels Gade. Niels Gade, good composer, really a good composer. Someday we're going to do the symphonies and some other things by him too. But he wrote 2 string works called novelettes, and they are fascinating. Oh, by the way, Gade is pronounced perfektisv in Danish. I mean, the G is silent, the A is pronounced like an R, the D doesn't exist, and the E is, of course, palatized. So don't forget. Anyway, the novelettes are delightful 4-movement string pieces. They're really little string symphonies. They really are, and they're wonderful, wonderful works. And I have here a performance also on Brilliant Classics that features, let's see here, the Aarhus Chamber Orchestra. And under Ove Vedsten Larsen, whether I pronounce that right or not, I have no idea. And I want to play you a little bit of the opening of Novelette number 1. It has a slow introduction to the initial allegro. It's as warm and sunny and beautiful, just what you want in like a string serenade. So have a listen here. Terrific work. They really are. They're 2 lovely pieces, about 40 some odd minutes combined. And the reason I didn't hold up the little cover is because I was saving it for now, because that performance you can also get on Brilliant Classics. This time it really is Brilliant Classics in this wonderful 5-disc set of romantic serenades for strings. Look at that. I mean, this is just such a terrific box. It's convenient, my goodness. And you get string serenades. Get ready. You get, let's see here. You get Tchaikovsky's, Dvořák's. You get Kalinikov, Janáček's Idyll, the Elgar Serenade for strings. You get the 2 Gade novelettes. And then you get Bartók's Divertimento. And let's see, what is this thing? Oh, Gadini's, the Concerto for Violin and String Orchestra. Your Bel Prato. That's fun. Nino Rota's Concerto for Strings. Hindemith's Trauermusik. That's not fun, but it's lovely. The Joseph Suk Serenade and the Grieg Holberg Suite, and Vaughan Williams' Tallis Fantasia and the Fantasia on Greensleeves, which has a harp and a flute. So it technically is not strictly a string serenade. But, I mean, what a terrific compilation of essentially, well, they're not all serenades either. You get some concertos and novelettes and other goodies, but music for strings, romantic music for strings. It's just a wonderful, let me hold it up here again. It's a wonderful little box, 5 discs worth of string music on Brilliant Classics. And so, you know, I mean, the performances are from all different places, licensed from all different things, as is typical. of the label, but the performances are all good. And my word, if you're looking for like a box of string stuff, you could hardly do worse than to get this wonderful Brilliant Classics collection. So I wanted to mention that to you as well. And with that, I think we come to the end of this particular collection of updates. More stuff to listen to, more stuff for me to mispronounce, more stuff for me to get the nationality wrong. Oh dear, whatever are we going to do about poor old Dave? You know, I can only do my best, folks. Anyway, thanks for listening, and keep on listening, and take care. I'll talk to you again very shortly. You could be sure of that.